Okay, think we're good. So to answer some of the questions that I've gotten, so this class today is about scams and frauds in 2026. So I'm going to double check my video before I get too far going. We're good. Okay. Put my microphone on backwards. I know. Poor guy. Poor girl. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, and I agree with her, but Megan would like me at least once a quarter to do some sort of security awareness for the active older adults group, which I think is very valid. I think we've kind of gotten away from that for a while because we were really excited to start doing tutorial type stuff where I was teaching you how to do certain things and whatnot. So this is going to be a little nice change of pace for us. You guys can just sit back and relax and ask me questions. You don't have to focus on doing anything in this class. I think it's been a few months since we've been able to do that. So this class, I'm going to get into it more, but we're going to talk about more looking at specific scams and seeing how those roll out. The next class I'm doing isn't technically a part 2, but very much related. So this is going to teach you how to identify and hopefully get out of certain situations. If you do end up in those situations and you do unfortunately get compromised in some sort of way, whether that's just letting them in or actually providing or end up losing money or something out of it, the next class is to teach how to get out of that situation. So, because I've done a lot of teaching about how to avoid it, but not a lot about what happens if you do end up in that situation. So, yes. Normally your classes start at 10. 9:30. Yes, 10. I'm sorry. I noticed that the next cybersecurity is listed as at 9. Correct. And I don't remember what the conflict was, but Megan asked me if I could do it a little earlier because there was a conflict of some sort. Just want to make sure that wasn't just... No, it was not. Thank you for catching that because you probably reminded me as well. So, so they are not the same class. You can definitely come to one and not the other, but they are related, and I think they're both very important. To answer your question about the tech tune-ups, I have changed the way that those work. It is still a one-on-one thing. So again, if you have questions for me specifically about like your tablets or your phones or things like that, I'm still doing that. But so I can give more individual attention while we do that, I give you a worksheet based on the next class. So an example for next class would be I would give you a worksheet on, hey, if you're in this situation, out of these 4 options, what do you think would be the correct response? So, and that's to help, number 1, help me give you guys something to do while I'm helping others, and 2, to kind of get your brain thinking in this line of thought. Any questions on that I didn't answer? Okay, who's excited to just sit back and learn? Yeah. Let me make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself here. You all know me, I skipped over that slide. Okay, so Megan is asking me for the next line of classes. I have ideas, but I want to know if you guys have ideas. So even if it's just leaving a note on the piece of paper back there or emailing me, texting me, however, I want to know what you guys want to learn about in the next coming classes. Either something like this where it's learning passively, or if it's something where we do actively, like doing redo on the digital calendars, which I know kind of was a mess. But please let me know what you want to learn. And then if I get enough suggestions, I may send out a poll and let you guys vote on it. But it depends how many ideas I get. Okay, now I'm going to start. Any questions before I get there? Any house cleaning? Oh, really quick, I'm going to do a small poll. So I do classes every other Thursday, and the way that the classes have been lining up this year, unfortunately, it seems like one of my classes will hit Thanksgiving Thursday, and one will hit Christmas Eve. I do not, and I don't know if you guys would either, but I don't want to work on Thanksgiving, and I don't want to work on Christmas Eve. So raise your hand if you think it would be better to do 2 weeks back to back, so Thursday. Okay? Or would you prefer to move it one day before and do a Wednesday, but still 2 weeks apart? Great. Okay, so I will, of course, ask Megan because she has to be the one that says that's okay, but
whatever works in their schedule too.
Yeah, true. But I wanted to know what your guys' opinions were because I don't know how much it is for you guys to do back-to-back too. So
Wednesday before Thanksgiving, a lot of people may be going to town.
I had that thought as well. So that's why I wanted to hear from you guys too. So it seems pretty easy choice. So anyway, okay. Now does anyone have any questions? Okay, please, I'm usually pretty easy about questions, but please raise your hand so I can try to get to everyone. And then please feel free to ask any questions you have. So again, today we're talking about scams and frauds. So what's the difference between those two? They're not. They're just two different words to describe someone trying to get your money in a very poor way, not correctly, right? So today we're going to try and recognize the situation a scammer is going to create. So you'll see a pattern, right? Or hopefully that's my goal. And then I'm going to hopefully teach you how to, once you understand what they're trying to do to you, to get out of that situation. Spoiler, you don't have to be nice about it. So a lot of people have a really nice, like even for the scammers, they feel like they have to be nice to them. You don't. You'd be surprised, but people always want to be polite. Yeah. True. Yeah.
Driving, they're not polite.
True. So
let me introduce you to Click.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you guys, but I had a German colleague that stayed here with us for 6 months. He now just went home, and I told him Kansas City is one of the nicest places in the world until you meet them on the road. And he was like, by the time he left, he was like, "You're right." So, and then we're going to talk about verifying through a contact method you already trust. Recovery steps belong in the and then again, recovery steps belong in the following class. So we're going to talk more in the how to. Again, I'm going to teach you how to hopefully get out of the situation. But if you end up following through all the way to the scammer's goal, whatever that looks like, I'm going to teach in another class how to get out of that situation. And then this will not contain all examples of scams that are out there, of course, but I'm hoping that there is enough examples in here today that you can kind of see the patterns, because they all have patterns. That's the beauty of it all. There's always a pattern, and you'll hopefully recognize it. So again, why this is important. If you want me to summarize this, there's a lot of money involved in this, and you guys are the majority of this age group is the majority of who's targeted, right? So even though, what they're doing is unfair already, and then you are already at the top of their list. So again, pretty much the same. So we're going to look at a real scam pattern. We're going to spot the pressure or trick. Then we're going to choose the safe exit, so how to get out of that situation. And then and then I'll take questions as we go, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about fraud messages, fraud calls, fraud relationships. And I want to be very clear. Humans, as a species, we're very relationship oriented. So I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about family, friends, colleagues, things like that. And then we'll do some reaction overview. So kind of summarizing it all. Any questions? Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, so fraud messages. So you'll see what I mean, but we're talking about text, like not text messages, but messages either in your email or texts or pop-ups or things like that. You're going to get a message of some sort. And then this is pretty much the golden rule. So we're going to pause. Do not act rushed. If you are in a bad situation with one of these scammers or in these examples and you feel rushed, that's the goal. That's what they want you to feel, because people don't make good decisions. Most of us don't make good decisions in the moment, right? And then you're going to leave the situation. And that's going to change by example of what that means, but that either means hang up or hit pause or turn off the computer or however that is. And then verify. So once you get out of that situation, if you are concerned that it may potentially be real, then you can verify through a trusted source, and we'll explain what that means. Questions? Okay. So in most common message scams, you're gonna be asking yourself, is this expected? Was I waiting for this? So context is very important in all of these. There is a rare chance where a scam message does kind of coincide with something you are expecting, but hopefully we're able to get through both of those. And emotional. Are they trying to get you emotional, whether that's urgency or fear, curiosity, excitement, right? All of these are valid. So the scammer's goal is to blindside you, essentially, right? And then kind of think about what they're using to get you to click. So is it a link, a number, a QR code, or just a simple reply to start? Okay. Does any of this not make sense? Perfect. So as you can see, we're kind of we're creating building blocks for you to kind of put all this together. Am I blocking you? Can you see okay?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. I moved all the tables, and then I realized I put them way too close. I was more worried about you guys being able to see the presentation, and then I was like, oh, I have to have space to stand up here, but
We have old eyes, but not that old. Okay?
yeah, you know. Okay. Starting off strong with something I know almost everyone has gotten at some point was the unpaid toll text. Nope, you never gotten it? You're lucky because I can
show you.
Who hasn't gotten one? Wow, consider yourself lucky. Okay, so again, it's pretty simple. The text says final notice 659, and this is a really low number to be honest with you, but I've seen them all over the board. Sometimes they're like $200, and you're like, $200 for a toll, right? And then so what does that make you feel? That makes you feel angry, excited, not in a good way, but like anxious, I think is the better word.
Red light cameras in Colorado are hitting people for $200 right now, and it was an error in the software.
Yeah. Well, and to be honest with you, so one of the reasons I want to teach this one is because I parked legitimately, but I didn't realize you had to pay for that parking. And they had been sending me text messages for almost a year. And I was like, I'm not falling for this, right? Because it was a $200 parking violation. And I was like, no way this is true. And then they kept poking me because a lot of this stuff eventually it'll go away and you never hear from it again. I was like, and I called them and I paid. And I was like, you guys need to like figure out a different system because you're texting people a really scammy looking message. I was like, I work in IT and I would not have paid this. Anyway, so right, would you? I mean, come on. So it's going to look something pretty similar to this. So this makes it look like it's a contact, and sometimes it'll show up like this. But a lot of times, have you guys seen those numbers where it's like 83-54 number, and it's like a random thing like that? You'll see that a lot more commonly for automated text like this. But it'll look very much like this. So again, final notice, urgency. They're coming in through text messages. This number is going to look weird, or the contact's going to look weird. And then they're essentially saying, if you don't do this, you're going to have a fine. Okay? Again, these amounts are fairly small in this example, but they can be hundreds of dollars, and that also increases the likelihood that you're going to be like, okay, I want to get this taken care of. I don't want to get a higher fine, like because it already says it's $100, and it's like, okay, if you don't pay the 100, you're going to pay 300. You're going to be like, oh, well, the 100 sucks, but I don't want to pay the 300. And they're going to give you this nice, convenient little link to tap and then pay, right? So, does anyone not understand what the trap is here? Okay. So, very common. This is an example of a text message. As far as today goes, I'm going to try and give different examples, but the stuff that you can see in text messages are pretty much applicable to emails. You're going to see a lot of the same kind of verbiage and links and stuff.
What happens on there if you hit the stop to unsubscribe?
So that's the thing. That is probably not legitimate. They're probably doing that because a lot of legitimate systems do send out that message. And then so if you hit stop, number one, you're a human, right? So you've confirmed that the number is real. And two, doing it like this, like the real systems do, makes it feel more legitimate to you, correct? So
what if you have gone
through a toll area and you know that, oh yeah, I'm expecting it. And like you said, they'll coincide.
Yeah.
So now you have this. And how do you know if this?
It definitely happens, right? So like I work in the business that I worked for full time. We have a lot of people who travel from coastline to coastline. So this has happened. The biggest thing we can do is most of the time, except for this parking garage place that I had, they don't send you stuff directly to your text messages. Number one, where you're getting the message doesn't make sense. Two, most of the time they use your plate registration, so they'll email wherever the plate is registered. So not always true, but usually paper mail is more, even though it's slow, it's usually more legitimate. Not always the case still. If you want to be doubly sure, you can always try and contact the real authority, whoever this is, Easy Toll or whoever, or if you know what state you drove through, you can try and contact the state and be like, hey, I have a message for a toll, blah, 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 in my texts, and they're going to be like, we don't do it that way. And you're going to be like, okay, sounds good. So again, if we go back, this is the verify. So we're always going to verify. So we stop. We're like, okay, this seems fake. We're going to leave. We're going to, okay, I'm going to step away from that text message. I'm not going to get panicked yet. Then I'm going to find either, like, if you didn't go through a toll, don't worry about it, right? That's the context part. But if you did happen to drive through a place and it roughly fits up, you can always go back and try and verify that way too. Try and contact the actual toll company who's managing that and then ask them, hey, where did you see this toll was from? And they're like, oh, it was Nebraska. And you're like, I haven't gone to Nebraska. And you're like, okay.
A lot of those toll companies have to link it to a credit card and it bills your credit card. So you should be
Yes.
getting a toll company.
Correct. Yeah. The problem is that the world is changing. So I would normally say you'll never get a text message, but again, in my case, I did. But it is very rare for you to get a text message about something like this. Text is not the right place to handle this business. So it's not just one piece of information. If you look at everything I just talked about, you're kind of putting pieces together. And I kind of like to look at it like a meter, like a risk meter in your head, right? You're like, okay, low risk to high risk, and the more things that seem wrong, you're like, okay, that's pretty high risk, and that's when you leave, meaning forget about the text message, delete it, and then try and call the person who should actually be informed about the situation.
A lot of times they send it to the mail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like this case.
Right. So delivery. So another common scam is delivery problems and QR codes, or delivery problems with QR codes. So I'll give you an example here in a minute of what that can look like. But essentially, this is where the message says there's a package problem. Update your address, or you won't receive your package. All right. And there's two things here. One, they can get your address information if they want you to update your address, which inherently is not necessarily immediately going to compromise you, but could lead to future compromises as they build a profile on you. Or if you only pay a 30-cent fee, they say they're going to only charge 30 cents, but then they charge you for 300 or 500, or they just keep your credit card credentials and they try to use that as they want, right? So, and then the QR code. I love QR codes. They're very convenient, and people ask me all the time, are they safe? As a technology, they are a tool, right? A tool is not bad or good in any way, right? You can say the same for certain things like firearms, right? That's a whole nother thing, but unless someone's pulling the trigger, they're not doing anything other than sitting there. That may be a hot topic, I'm sorry. But anyway, but you get my point. If the QR code is just sitting there, they're not doing anything dangerous. But if you scan them, you'll see most of the time on the bottom, when you scan them, there's that little button at the bottom that you can press and tap, and then it'll take you to a link. So normally you should only scan a QR code if you're absolutely sure it's coming from a legitimate source. And again, we're going to continually understand how we identify that. Or if you go to the link and you're not 100% sure that it's legitimate, if it's asking you to provide any information, do not do that via the QR code. Again, leave the website, or pause, leave the website, and then go and try and call the company directly. So in other words, if it's UPS saying that you need to update your package, through a QR code in text or email or whatever. You leave the email, you leave the website, you search for or find the UPS's number, and then you call them directly. Now, I say find their number. What are most of us going to do if we don't know a phone number?
Google.
We're going to Google it. Okay. So I didn't go over that today, but I want to address it really quick. Don't find a number. So when you Google something, you're going to find a number that is going to provide you right at the front, right? Before you even click on a website. Usually you want to find a very legitimate looking website and go into that to find a number. Sometimes I've seen some people where there's advertisements at the top and those numbers are falsified ads and the phone numbers are fake, and then they will pretend to be UPS support. And that's, again, why we're going to try and build some of those cues of, hey, even though I thought this phone number was legit, this is how I know it's not. So any questions on that? Okay. So again, it can look like on your phone, it can look like this, like, hey, we're not able to deliver it because we don't have the right address, so update your address, or you can definitely get it in an email. Yeah. Okay. But QR codes work super easy, and that's why they're starting to use them, because you just scan them, go, and you're right. Okay, fake purchases. Who's gotten a fake purchase? So this happens so much. It happens on Venmo, PayPal. So what's interesting is some companies like PayPal, does anyone not know what PayPal is? No, you're fine. So it's a digital payment processor. That's all. But you have an account and whatnot. So technically, I could go in and invoice you for something. PayPal allows you to do that. That doesn't mean it's legitimate. That doesn't mean you actually owe the money. But I could say, hey, you do. So a lot of the times you'll see these scams where they'll go on PayPal and they'll send you an invoice. Like, I bought a brand new $800 iPhone. And they're like, oh, you didn't pay your invoice for this $800 iPhone. And you're like, I didn't buy an iPhone. So their goal is if you look on the invoice, they give you a fake number. You call them. I'm jumping ahead because calls are different. But you call them, and then they're like, hey, you need to pay this invoice. And you're like, okay, well, where's it wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then you just, down the rabbit hole you go. So.
I had 3 from this week.
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
PayPal. I don't know how many I get, because if I don't recognize who it's from, I just delete it. I know I can look at it.
Valid.
Every morning I go through.
Yeah, that's
15 or 20 different things.
Emails. Yeah. I do want to say something. It's not, I would say 95% of the time, and I'm comfortable saying that, if you just click on an email, what you're doing is absolutely not wrong. Fine. And that's totally your comfort point. But what I'm talking about is for the people who don't oops, sorry. Oh, where was I at?
Some of us get multiple things that we have to still look at.
Right. I'm a trigger happy person, I'll be honest. So I click on an email and I'm like, oh, that's fake. So I don't want you to think that just because you click on the email that you're done, right? Usually you have to interact with something inside the email. Simply looking at it is not necessarily dangerous. But also, if it looks very fraudulent, deleting it right off the bat is also better than opening it. So
it has a title, and I know I'm
Yep.
not interested, or I didn't request that or any of that stuff, and I just go to the side, select items, and edit and delete it.
That
Not
is
even opening it.
the correct mindset, absolutely.
What about report spam?
You can report spam. So
How do I get those out of reporting?
yeah, you can absolutely report spam, and reporting spam does 2 things. 1, it takes that email and it puts it into the deleted box or the trash or whatever it calls it. 2, it reports it to whoever the email provider is, whether that's Gmail, Yahoo, etc. And it trains. So I'm sure you guys are going to get tired of hearing about AI, but AI does help a lot with preventing certain emails from getting through. And so when you press spam, it'll help train that, say, hey, if it got through and wasn't labeled as spam, it's going to hopefully tell it or give it some more information on that. So, was that where I was at?
Yeah.
So I was given these examples by one of you guys, but I have seen this many, many times. So I don't know why Norton and Geek Squad are so highly used, but they're all over the place. I've seen for years even I've seen these examples, and these ones are okay. They look okay. Sometimes they can look a little bit more legitimate like this, but like with Geek Squad or any of these, never call the number on the bottom. I am going to tell you to try and call and verify directly, but if you are given the amount and then given the number to solve the amount, don't assume that that's the correct solution. They're giving you the solution that they want you to use on purpose, right? That's the goal. They don't want you to actually pay this. They want a big, trust me, the amount of money they're going to try and get out of you is more than this. This is just to make you worried. Again, that's why we pause. We're like, okay, oh my gosh, $600? I didn't renew for $600. Wait a second. How could that have happened? I don't think it could have happened. Okay, I'm going to try and go and find Norton's number outside of this email. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay, are we finding the pattern? Right? Concern, worry, unexpected message, so on and so forth. So fraud alerts. So it's still going to be in a text message or it's still going to be an email for the most part, maybe a pop-up, and I'll show you 2 examples. But what I mean by alert, it's going to say alert, like to your attention. This is happening. So did you just, my credit card, if I swipe my card, it'll tell me, hey, you just made a purchase of this amount, right? It'll give me notifications if it's over a certain amount. Does anyone have that set up? Yeah. Right. So their idea is to try and make a fake version of that.
Show us how to do that.
It depends on your credit card.
Oh, you mean you have to set it up to the
right, right. So I have like I have Bank of America, so I can say, hey, if my card is charged over $100, I want you to send me an email saying where and what was charged. But which is great for fraudulent. So that is a good thing for finding fraud. But the thing is that they can also make fake versions of that too. They can say, oh, hey, you were just charged $1,000. And you're like, what? Right? Yes. Yeah, we have that too. I think I have that.
Don't call that number, call the one on the
Yeah, see, app or number on your card. Yeah, so there should be a number on the back of your card to verify stuff, right? And again, that can look like an email, right? So saying, hey, Secure Bank, which is whoever. Is Secure Bank an actual bank? Isn't there a, anyway.
Close to that.
I digress. But anyway, this is just a pseudonym. It wasn't supposed to be real. But anyway. And then it's going to say, hey, you made this purchase, and then you're going to freak out, or they want you to freak out and try and call them and say, hey, I didn't do this. And then they're going to very politely help you get that off of your account by making you enter a whole bunch of information so they can steal your money. But I've also seen it kind of pop up like this too. We are bombarded by pop-ups nowadays. And unfortunately, those have become normal. And so a lot of people don't think second about a pop-up versus an email. But we should always be wary of either. So
there's not. It takes you to all these other banks, but it's
yep.
It's not taking us there.
Does everyone understand that? Okay. Fake loans and invitations. So and a lot of these are going to be preying on people that don't have a lot of money to begin with, but it could say, oh, you've won this amount of money, or, oh, hey, you can get a loan for this amount of money. And then how much, to get a loan, how much information do you have to put in? All of it, right? So if they can get someone to click on this loan application and provide them with your social, your address, your phone, your email, perfect for them. But in this regard, they're going to be impersonating a financial institution. You can go away from the email, find the number or contact for that financial institution, and verify that it's real. And most of the time, they're going to say, no, that's not a promotion we're running or anything like that. Yes?
In the last year, we got something like that from State Farm saying that we won this.
Yep.
Got to click on that.
Yep.
So I just went to our State Farm office and asked them, or I called them.
Yep.
And they said that was not theirs.
Exactly. And that's...
It was State Farm something on the end of it rather than just State Farm.
Yep. Perfect response.
They're getting clever at making it look legit.
Yeah.
You used to be able to pretty much tell.
Yeah.
Can't they?
So don't get me wrong, there's so much information I can put in here. I can go into like how to tell there's bad URLs, bad phone numbers, bad this, but which is not bad information. No, you should know that. But once you start realizing what the patterns they're using are, telling the scam up front without even looking at that stuff gets really easy, believe it or not, with some practice, right? And plus you're gonna have plenty of practice because you're gonna get daily examples of it, right? But yes, or if you're invited. I've seen a lot of these where they will, and it kind of depends on the tactic of what they're trying to get. Some scammers play the long game, some scammers play the short game. So sometimes they'll invite you to a fake event and then they'll just ask for your email. Well, then they know it's a real email and then they can send more targeted attacks. Or they'll send you an RSVP where it asks for a lot more information. And then you probably get to the point where you're like, why do I need to put this information in to RSVP for something? And again, primarily an email, it's going to look something like this. Lender Solutions Team, complete the final step of your $10,000 loan. Now, this isn't for a new loan in that example. That's for one that you're already completing. Again, that's kind of a timing situation. So you can't think of it like this. They can't think of like, oh, how would they know if I'm about to complete a loan? But if they have 1 million people, or probably tens of millions of people's emails, and they send out the same attack to all of them or the same email, there's a statistical likelihood that they're going to find someone within the rough amount, that's in a similar situation, right? It's all about the numbers game. So if you're like, that's such a bad scam, I have nothing to do with that. Well, but if you send it to the whole population, it's likely to at least get someone. Okay. Any questions?
We get a lot for like people wanting to buy our homes.
Yep. Yeah,
And most of that's phone calls.
Yeah. Well, and I wanna. So like when how long did that big hailstorm come through?
March 10th.
It was March. Oh, I'm sorry that you know the date. But how many people got called by roofers? Right. So I do want to be clear. Now, I'm not talking about if the roofing company themselves is a legitimate company that scams people. That's not what I'm talking about. But a lot of that was what we call spam. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily trying to get your money illegitimately. It just means that they're being annoying about it, right?
We'll still call them.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. But I just want to be clear, that is not a scam. Assuming that they are a legitimate company and just trying to get your business, it is unwarranted and annoying, but it's not a scam. Those terms, because they're so close, do tend to get.
No, I'm talking about buying yours.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know. You just reminded me of something else. How do they get your email address? There is about 1 million ways that someone can get your email address. Have you ever?
Registered for a drawing someplace.
Yep. That's one of the biggest ways. Has anyone done that? Like, oh, just give me your email and you're entered in for a drawing. I've done it 100 times. Don't get me wrong, because I assume my email is there anyway. Have you ever gotten a data breach notification? Then that involved your email. Your email's out there. Boom, done. Right? And I'm not saying that lightly, but
Facebook.
yeah, I would not consider, like in today's modern standards, I would not consider an email address private because it's just very easy to get them nowadays.
I get one from one of the 3 security companies that go back to whichever one.
Yep.
Your information, blah, 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 is out there on the dark web.
Right. Which seems really scary, and there's multiple ways to interpret that, but like for the most people, I just treat your email as public, which is unfortunate. It should not be public. Not everyone should have your email, but because of the increase in data breaches and how easy it is.
Everybody wants you to be digital. They don't want to send you a paper
Right.
invoice anymore. They want you to do digital. So.
Yep. But and I don't know the exact legality behind it because I'm not a legal guy. I'm a IT actual guy. But like a lot of those drawings and stuff where you enter your email or whatever, they'll sell them off to other companies. Like if they don't get your business, they'll sell hey, we had some customers with these emails. They didn't want our business, but maybe they'll want yours. So I can't go through every way, but it's not hard.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I don't think you guys seem pretty up on top of this. Again, there's two goals today. One, to understand the pattern, and two, to see actual real world examples. So the real world examples, I think we got through pretty well. Not too many questions. The pattern, I think you guys are grasping that pretty easy too. So they're going to give you some sort of trigger, something easy to interact with, right? Whether it's a link, a QR code, an alert with a link, however. And then that's going to allow them to either directly access your information or indirectly. And what I mean is, like, if it's a bank account thing, whatever, they're going to get your username and password because you're going to log into a fake website. Or they're going to ask for your email address and then be like, okay, and then they're going to try and send you targeted information later. Because if they know your email address, they can maybe look at what websites have been compromised. So, like, if they send you a fake email and then they know that your email is real, there are places, because it's public information, where you can go and see, or sorry, let me revise that. You can essentially go and find what email addresses were compromised and what data breaches. So in other words, if a healthcare place had a data breach and you are one of their customers, they can send you targeted information from that makes it look like it's from that healthcare place, right? So that's the goal. The more familiar you feel with the situation, the more likely you are to interact with it. But in all of these, and I'm going to repeat this many times, and you're probably going to get tired of it, but you don't have to do anything now. You leave the situation, you call the institution, and you verify. Yep.
A friend of mine, she had several emails. So if she gave one out, like on a list or something like that, she always gave like her Yahoo account
Yep.
or whatever. So all the yucky stuff went to that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So that is certainly a tactic. So for a lack of a better term, we call them burner accounts, right? So you have a really, you just give it to someone because you're like, you need an email for me to buy something at your place.
Yeah.
Weird, but okay, give it a fake email,
When the presenter is not in use, please remember to remove the USB dongle.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I think it's because I turned off I was sitting here fidgeting with the switch.
Could you turn it up? I can't hear it.
Yeah, I turned this off and it said remove the USB. Anyway, it's the computer being crazy.
AI.
Sorry for giving you a heart attack. Good morning. I'm glad I could wake you up. But anyway, is any of this unclear? Okay, any questions on the text message part of it? Okay.
Basically, don't trust anybody for
I've been going to class for 5 years.
I know it. I know it feels like that, and it does feel like that, even for me. But
it's kind of like, you basically feel like you can trust,
I know it does feel like that. But the problem that we have is that so much business is legitimately done in the same ways, and that's why we have to try and distinguish between the real and the fake. So, okay. I think we pretty much got to it. Any questions before I go on to calls? So again, that was mostly focusing on real world examples of things that happen in messages, text, pop-up, or email. Does anyone get a message in any sort of way that isn't in those three mediums that I'm missing? I think that's 90% of it. Yes?
Messaging off of Facebook.
I have that in the future, so I will get there too, because messenger apps are really bad. Okay, so fraud calls. So this is going to be mostly voice related rather than text related or email related, right? Oh, this is a good one. So your money is not safe. So most of them are asking for your money or wanting to give you the money, but if they pretend that they are the solution, doesn't that kind of trick your brain into already? Like imagine, like I said, imagine they find out that you are a member of a certain financial institution and your bank calls you. And I know a lot of us think that foreign accents mean scams, which can, but there are a lot of there's still a lot of scams that happen with natural speaking English people. So you can't just immediately say just because they don't have an accent that it's legitimate. It's just true. I'm not saying that the language barrier isn't a good cue. Definitely use that if you need, but you can still have like people talking to me just like, or talking to you just like me, sound like it. But anyway, your bank calls you and say, hey, Bank of America, we noticed that there was a weird uh, transaction on your account. We're going to try and help you send your money to a secure account since this one looks like it may be compromised. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. Let's do that, right? But then you're going to be like, and this is really easy. You just have to be like, okay, what happened? Well, there was just some weird activity. Well, where was the weird activity from? So they're just hoping like this happen. I've done this. I've actually like played with them a little bit, yeah. So they don't know. Most people are going to be shocked, like, okay, whatever we need to do, let's do it so I don't lose all my money. But if you push back on them, they're going to be like, they don't have a giant script, or at least not most of the time. But it does automatically kind of trick your brain into thinking, oh, okay, they're trying to help me, not hurt me, which is brilliant. It's in their regard, it is brilliant, and we have to be aware of that.
Have you ever seen the Seinfeld thing on getting a spam call?
No.
Oh God, it's hilarious. He lifts up the phone and he's listening to this guy and he goes, hey, he says, I'm busy. Can I get your phone number and I'll call you back? And he goes, we don't do that, sir. And he said, now do you understand why I don't want to hear from you?
Yeah, right.
My son used to get spam calls and he was objective to see how long he could keep them on.
Yeah, it's sad, but sometimes it's fun if you have some free time. Because when you got them, because they'll call you every name they can think of. Again, call the number on your card. Call the number on your paper bank statement, right? Has anyone had this happen to them? We actually had a very similar, it's not the exact same, we had a very similar incident happen this week at my company. So a person was sent about 700 emails within about an hour. Yeah, email bombing, right? And then someone from our company called them and say, hey, we noticed some weird activity on your email. I just need to remote in really quick and run this script and it'll stop. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure, right? Because that's almost intrusive at that point, 700 emails an hour. And then we were like, and then they came and talked to us and they were like, hey, we talked to this person and they fixed me. And we were like, what was their name? And like, so-and-so. And we're like, that is not a real person. So anyway, so it does happen in reality this week or last week. I don't remember, but it was kind of scary. Okay, government benefits and court government, benefits and court authority. So this is essentially, have you ever gotten calls from the court or from the government or people asking about your Medicare benefits and wanting your information to upgrade your Medicare benefits or things like that? So I think you guys get this, but a lot of scams are around trying to, and the goal behind this is to try and establish the authority up front so that you do not question it, and then you are willing to provide them information. And as humans, we are usually very willing to comply with that, because as soon as we understand that there's an authority above us, we are able to comply. Especially if you're concerned, like, hey, you're going to lose all your Medicare benefits, or hi, I'm so-and-so from Medicare. If you don't give me this information, you're going to lose all your benefits. You're concerned. It is Medicare, you think, and there's a lot at stake there, right?
I got one that the judge to be a jury.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
How am I gonna, how do they have my information?
Yeah.
And it was a scam.
Yep. Yeah. All sorts of things. Yes.
Everybody in this room should be jury duty. They're too old for that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I got that. Just turned
Well, if you're under
65.
70, you don't get called.
Yeah, no, you get called.
You get called. You just get out.
You get called. You
And
get
I got a
out.
letter.
No, you don't.
I did. And I'm over 70.
Anyway, Anyway,
Yeah, you get a card.
but
Yeah, card.
there are factors like that that can make it seem less real. But again, just because you guys are in the top percentage of people who get scammed, the scams aren't necessarily all for you. And so you can kind of put two and two together and be like, this isn't even applicable to me, right? Where was my thought?
Some of it's political now too. That
100%. Because what do politics do to us?
Drive you crazy.
Or make us emotional? They always want to make us emotional in one way or another. It doesn't matter if it's a good emotion or a bad emotion, because winning the lottery is fantastic, right? If you got a call and you're like, you won the lottery, you'd be happy. It doesn't have to be a negative emotion. That's a good emotion, but still, it makes you act in a way you normally wouldn't. So, with this, it's pretty simple. You call the entity directly.
Suspected scam.
Yeah.
talking about phone scams, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's talk to this.
No. Anyway.
And we did the same, someone must have gone after him, the same lady. Every day. It's been blocked.
So, I'll say one. So, we were, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I'll throw you under the bus. But we were renewing your passport. And I Googled passport renewal because I couldn't remember the exact government link, right? About the first 4 or 5 links on top is renew your passport, renew your passport, renew your passport. And Google has gotten now, it's like, this is not a government website. But a lot of them are saying, renew your passport. And a lot of those aren't necessarily scams. What they do is they essentially charge additional processing fees that you don't need because they're doing it all for you, even though you still have to put in the same information. Anyway, but the point is you always have to find the legitimate source. And if you guys don't know, like if you're called for jury duty and you want to verify, you're usually always going to look in the US for websites that are .gov, G-O-V, right? If you find .net or .com or things like that for government services, it's usually fake. And then finding the correct website is good, but finding the correct number on that government website is better. Because a lot of times if you call people and you hear how they're interacting with you or how they're providing information, that can also give you cues on how legitimate it is, right? Again, like I said, if I call the bank and they're like, hey, we want to help you with fraud, and you're like, okay, where did the fraud come from? And they're like, don't know. Yeah.
What is the actual site to renew your passport?
I don't remember. It's kind of long, to be honest, but we can look here in the end. It's like travel. Travels. It is .gov, 100%. Yeah, it's travel something. I know. It's travel something.gov. I can't remember, but we can look.
You know, the other thing too, I just had this happen the other day, and it was a legitimate thing, but then when I clicked on the link to take me to the right place, it popped up about an unsecure website, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is all supposed to be really secure, and I'm like, I just watched the URL. That was what I was really paying attention to.
Was it the right one?
I don't know. I'm assuming so. I just got out of there.
Yeah, I would too. Because so the way secure or not secure works on a website, so it's very rare to happen, but I have seen in some instances. So a website, essentially any website, let's say google.com, Google has to prove, even them being them, they have to prove that they're secure. And to prove that they're secure, they use a third part. They use a third party to say, hey, I'm secure.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole bunch of checks and balances.
Get out of there. Don't even
Yeah.
mess with it.
It looks like it's travel.state.gov. or
Yeah, that sounds right. It's travel.
USA.passport,
The travel one was what we used, so that's what I would say. Okay, so if you want to scam someone over the phone, calling you is one option. But what would be even easier for the scammer? No, if you're doing voice. Instead of them calling you, what would be easier? You calling them, right? Yeah, you come to us. So that's what this is talking about. Who has seen this? I know a lot of you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It's still a voice scam. So this message by itself, not dangerous at all. Doesn't matter. But it makes loud noises. It locks up your computer, which all it does is it so-and-so puts your computer in full screen mode, so it seems like you're locked out, but you're not, right? It's very intelligent. It's supposed to make you fearful. And then try doing something while someone's yelling in your ear, right? So, and then you're like, okay, I just need this to stop. So we're going to call this number. Great, you come to them. Okay, so number one, if you're ever, this goes for all things, but I'm going to talk about this specifically. If you're ever in a position where you think you are about to get scammed, turn off your computer. I hesitate to say just pull the plug because you can damage a computer by doing that. But if you truly believe that someone's in your computer not valid, turn it off, call a professional. That doesn't mean it has to be me. I'd be more than happy to help you, but turn it off, call a professional. I've had lots of people do this. And you don't have to do this in this situation. Usually just rebooting the computer or whatever takes care of this, but that's their goal. They're trying to make it sound scary. And then you call them, makes their life 10 times easier. And the fact that you guys have all seen this, and I've seen this for years, so. Family emergencies. This has also happened for years where people call you and say, hey, because I mean, it depends on the family, right? But generally speaking, like in this example, I was in an accident. Please don't tell so-and-so. Do you know why they say don't tell mom? Like if I'm a grandson and I'm calling grandma because I want help, and I'm like, please don't tell mom. Do you know why they're doing that?
Yeah.
This is a scam, huh? Sort of, but this is a scammer trick to isolate you. Because as soon as you tell someone else who's not feeling that emotion, they're gonna be like, whoa, hang on. They did what? Who's calling you? So that this is a really simple trick for them to try and isolate you. And you'll see that a lot. Like when they ask you to buy gift cards or anything else, they always try isolating, like, oh, go to this specific location, don't tell you. They ask you what you're doing, just tell them I'm fine, whatnot. Because thank you. No, you're fine. But you see this tactic a lot where they're trying to shut you off from other people, because one of the best things you can do in a bad situation is contact someone else and say, hey, I got this really weird message. I'm not sure. And they're like, okay, because they have a level head at that point. They didn't get the adrenaline rush from whatever bad message you got. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You know, at one point, we were warned to not use your old voice, so to speak, because they could quickly copy your voice and use that in this kind of scam. Is that legitimate? That can happen?
In theory, yes, it's legitimate. In practicality, I haven't heard a lot of people dealing with this.
Not yet.
Not yet. But
It's coming. It's just not perfection.
the problem with that, though, okay, so let's say that it is perfect, which it is possible, but again, I haven't heard a lot of people dealing with this yet. No, you're fine. Thank you for coming. The reality is, like, how are you not gonna, like, we have to communicate, right? There's no way that we're not gonna be able to use phones in life. So my approach is not around not using the phone as is intended, but to understand when the scam happens.
Well, in my case, if I don't know the number, I don't answer.
Correct.
But there's a time when you're expecting a call that I do feel I have to answer. I have a deep voice on the phone. I deliberately pitch it down another notch.
You can try.
And it works. Then, if it's legitimate business, then I bring my voice back like a lot.
Yeah, you can do that too. It's just, and maybe I'm putting too much of my own self in it. There is nothing wrong with what you're saying. I'm just personally not going to remember to do that every time. You know what I mean? So it's hard that would be a bad tactic for me personally, because sometimes I'm too much in a rush. So there is tactics like that. That is valid, but we also want to try and figure out other ways of identifying, But I don't want to tell you that you're wrong, because you're absolutely not. Yeah.
It happened to me, and it is so hard
Yes.
to hang up the phone.
It is, absolutely.
I tell you guys, it's just so hard. With mother of 5 kids, half of them in college and stuff like that, and it's just so hard. But I did press the button. I did turn off the phone.
The problem is that we're human, right? Nah. You can, absolutely.
You can. They have good answers, though.
Sometimes they will have good answers. Yeah,
But,
true.
that's what I said, it's very hard because your adrenaline's going so around.
Yes.
And, and
Well, it could be spring break and their kids are traveling on spring break and
what's happened, that's what I mean, they get it at a time, like he says, 1 in a million, that was me.
Yeah.
And I had my children, they're all traveling, each one of them separate, and they sound like they're screaming in the back, help me, hurt, whatever. But it's just hard. I'm just saying that, sometimes
No.
you just have to, like you said, delete it. That's what I did. I deleted it and I called up, family members. I said, call and go over for each
Mhm.
one, each one go to the different colleges that the kids were at.
Yeah.
Make sure.
So I'll one comment to this and I'll get to you. Let's say that you cannot, as a mother, get yourself to hang up the phone. Valid. Very valid, right? This is the whole point. They're trying to make you emotional. They're there to get your money, so they're going to wait. And if they do just hang up, then you're like, okay, that was strange. But if you ask them, hey, give me like 5 minutes, I'm on, and you can make up a story if you feel like you have to. Again, the best thing to do is hang up. But if you just cannot bring yourself to do that,
ask for their address.
that, or give them a small things like, hey, I need 5 minutes to get ready and then I'll be on my way, or I need to grab my card or whatever, and then put them on mute, keep the phone on, and then try and either use a different phone or contact someone else. And so you still, human wise, feeling you have that connection just in case for your own sanity, but then you can use another device, either call the courthouse or call a family member and then verify.
And,
Exactly.
I
Yep.
went to my neighbors and she called up.
Yep.
I know a friend that she had a code word for the grandkids.
Yep.
And the grandkids were supposed to give anybody that code word when they were calling their grandparents.
Did I not? Yeah,
And
use.
you ask the person, you say to the person, what's the code word he told you or something.
But that's what I started with. You do not remember any of that. I mean, I wouldn't even remember the code.
Yeah.
And that's
So
that's the emotion that you get. You don't
yeah.
You don't remember it. You don't remember the words you say. You don't remember.
You're hitting the emotional side.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
My kids, when they were younger, they had a code word, password.
Yeah. So.
But you don't remember it.
Oh, yes, I do.
And in a stressful situation, your mind's not thinking about it.
Well, and this is the beauty part. So neither of you are right or wrong. And that's the hard part about all of this, is because we're all going to respond different ways to stress. And that's why we try to teach a different ways of approaching this. So you'll see here, use a family safe phrase. I say phrase instead of word because words are really easy to guess. And if you call thousands of people a day, it may be statistically likely that you can guess the right word. Anyway, so if you come up with a phrase, like a sentence, like whatever, I'm not creative enough to come up with one on their own, but that is definitely a tactic. But again, I would probably also be one of those that would, like, maybe not now since I'm so used to these situations, but it is very viable and probable that you can freeze up and just panic. You're like, okay, I don't know what to do in this situation. And you did end up doing the right thing. But both are valid. You have to figure out what works for you and your family, and you have to understand how you respond to those situations. Anyway, I think this has been around for a while, but it's still happening today. And again, I haven't heard of too many reports of it actually happening in reality, but we all can see how good AI is getting with faking things, even videos and footage and stuff like that. So we need to be very aware of what's real and what's not real. I should probably teach a class all on how to identify what is AI and what's not, but the problem is it's getting so good so quick. I don't even know if I taught the class in a month if it wouldn't change, right? If it took me a month to write the class, I don't know if it would change by then. So, questions? Okay.
Maybe talk about it for 5 minutes each time.
What?
Of current AI.
Yeah, we could. I could.
I mean, just take 5 minutes out to talk about a current AI.
I'll write that down. Or text me so I don't forget. Yeah, so manufactured evidence. This is essentially the same thing, but we're not talking about just voice. We're talking about all sorts of things. And I'm not just talking about, like, it doesn't even have to be just caller ID, voices, and photos. How have you guys seen anyone talk, or anyone that they're full of crap, but they speak so genuinely that you believe them? So like, let's say that, hey, you got a call from your bank. It's like, hey, this is so and so with Bank of America. Your account that ends in so and so, so and so. Because to be honest with you, I don't know all my bank account numbers. I have them written down, but I don't know them off the top of my head. And if they say if they have the account number, you're like, okay, they have the account number. It must be mine, right? They're gonna try and manufacture that. Now, if you're better than I am and you know all your accounts off the top of your head, you can be like, okay, you're lying. And then this one is crazy too. They can always transfer you to someone else and be like, this happens in different ways, so it's hard to describe always, but you have to be aware that they can also try and trick you to make you believe that something is official, right? So you get a call from them. It's like, hey, we're going to transfer you to this is so and so. I'm just calling you as your bank rep to let you know that there was some fraudulent so and so on your account. I'm going to transfer you to the fraud department so that you can talk to a specialist, right? We're just building it. They're trying to build a picture to make it seem more legit. And professional tone. Again, a lot of the scams we do get in are unfortunately from India and other countries. There's also like Thailand and Indonesia and places like that. But they don't always have to be. They can be just as good English speakers. And then they can talk very nice to you and be very polite. A lot of the scammers now, they're just really quick. Oh, I'm going to talk to you, whatever. But if they really want your money, if they know you've got a lot for some reason, they can make it sound really good. Okay, so those are the modern examples. I want to be very clear about this slide. So some of us don't feel comfortable just hanging up on people as an example. I know that's slightly different, but this is going to give you, this is some examples of sentences you can use to exit a phone call. If you highly suspect spam, you don't owe them any niceties. You can just hang up on them and be done with it. But if you're one of those people that don't feel comfortable doing that just in case you're wrong, you can always say, oh, I don't handle account problems on incoming calls. I'll call a number I already have. I don't share codes. I'll speak with someone I trust, right? And we've actually dealt with this in the business legitimately. And if it is a legitimate call, they'll most of the time, if you say this to one of them, they're going to be like, well, you, and then they'll hang up anyway. But most of the time, if it is a legit call and you say one of these things, they're like, okay, that's very valid, no problem. And then talk to you soon, right? So people are aware that people get scammed a lot, and there's no reason that a legitimate company should give you any grief over making sure that you're right. Any questions on that? Okay, so no questions? Okay. No one's bored yet, right? Okay. All right. Fraud relationships. So, again, as people, we're really connected. And again, we're not talking about necessarily a romantic relationship. We're talking about how we're connected with people, friends, family, children, right? Now, I will get to it. There are plenty of romantic scams as well, where it involves dating and things like that. But most of these are talking about, because if I see someone's picture and someone's name on a digital platform, how much trust does that inherently give you? It's a fairly decent amount, right? Now, there may say some things that are odd, but at first, if you look at someone's name and they have their picture there, we've all seen this. Come on, it's on Facebook. How many times?
Uses it
Yeah.
notoriously for scammers.
Yes. How many people have gotten contacted by someone that they know? And I want to be clear, these are not, this says the hacked friends account, sure, because that can happen where they really do log into their account. But unfortunately, if you use Facebook, at least your name and your profile picture are public. Anyone can go out there and find that. And so they can go out there and find or create an account with your picture and your phone number and pretend to be someone they're not. So I know there's a lot of text there, but you get it. But it can look something like this. They've got the profile picture and their name. Yeah, and we'll get to that here. But it'll say, hi, this is my new account, or just say hi in general. I've seen that too. They're like, hey, I had a problem with my other account, so this is my new one. Just wanted to let you know. Or hey, how are you doing? Or things like that. And it's really funny when you are friends with someone on Facebook, which is a cousin of a cousin that you haven't heard from in forever, and they're like, oh my God, how are you doing? I haven't talked to you forever. And you're like, I haven't talked to you ever. Anyway, it does happen. But this kind of thing. And who has this happened to? It's happened to me. Yeah. So the question is how do we figure out if it's real or fake? You tell me, and I'll call them. Great. Perfect. Number one thing you should do. Okay, let's say that it is someone you know somewhat decently or a friend of a friend and you don't have their number. What's the second best thing you could do?
Email 'em.
Maybe. You'll have their email if you don't have their phone number?
Possibly.
Okay, I'll give that to you.
Or call.
Yeah, I'll
family-
give it. I'll give
call
it
a
to you.
family member or
That too.
a
You can.
friend that's a close friend in your relationship.
Yep. You can do that too. So if
It
you're.
happened to me, and I just called up, I talked to more my cousin,
Yep.
his brother. When
Yeah,
I
just
did
talk
him,
to somebody else
his brother decided.
in that circle.
Yeah, you can do that too. You can call the friend of the friend who it is, right? But I'll give you hints because those are absolutely the best options, but there are more. No more calling. How do we verify if this is a real account or not? So almost in all of these, do you see where it says view profile? See right here, this little button that says view profile? That's going to take you to their Facebook profile. And if you see a name and their profile picture, and then there's no posts, no photos, no other friends, you're going to be like, oh, okay, that's weird, right? Especially if it's those kind of people that you know post. And then if you also look here, I don't know if this is the exact spot it is, but you can usually see when the account was created or how old the account is. And so if it's someone pretending to be someone else of an account that you know has been around for longer than 6 months and it was created 3 months ago, you're going to be like, it's a fake account, right? So, any questions on that? Okay. Any clarities? Any oh, this is really interesting. Okay. Has anyone gotten a message from someone? So, hang on, let me back up. Yeah, I know. So we've typed in the wrong, or at least I have typed in the wrong number, one digit or whatever, and then messaged someone incorrectly, right? Text message, however. So this is playing off of that concept that we have that, oh, sometimes you can get their number wrong. So this looks like Facebook, I'm sorry, but this can happen in regular text messages too. Forget the new account, but you can say, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't see that one. Anyway, so you can get a fake text from someone that says, hey, how are you doing? Are you ready for the dinner on Friday? And you're like, oh, what dinner? Yeah. And then again, I'm not very good at coming up with examples on the fly, but I've seen this where they start establishing a conversation with you and they can get information out of you that way. So, and then you're like, well, who would do that? I know it's hard to believe, but people do. And it's either if you want human connection or you are just a friendly person, it can happen, right? And again, I'm not good at coming up with examples, but their job is to be convincing, so they are convincing. And I've seen it. And this can absolutely happen too. I've seen this. Another red flag with all things that are messaging like this is if they try to get you to leave one platform and go to another one. So like you'll see here, message my agent on Telegram, or hey, Facebook isn't working for me. Can you use or if it's in a text message, hey, can you go to a Facebook message or can you go to Telegram? Those of you who don't know what Telegram is, you don't need to know what Telegram is, but it's a common application that allows you to do texting type things. That is very secure, good and bad, meaning that a lot of people can't identify it's happening. Or what about WhatsApp? Have you heard of WhatsApp? Anyone? It's very similar to Telegram. Yeah, I mean, the rest of the world uses WhatsApp more than as text messages more than us. We're behind in that regard. Oh, don't call right now, I'm busy. Because if you call, that's another thing. You can try to call the person and verify. Don't call right now, I'm busy. Right? So isolation is all this is. Anyway. Okay. Any questions on that? So I've seen this so much. I know it might be a little awkward to talk about depending on how you feel about this, but I have seen it a lot. And some people that I have that are closer to me, right? When you're in a bad place, you're in a bad place, and that's what they're preying on, right? So they promise you, and forget about money up front, right? They're promising you connection and love and things like that. And they're usually doing those in places where people are trying to connect with people already. And so you already know that they're susceptible to that. The biggest things I want to touch on here are if you're talking to a person and it may seem legitimate and they won't call you or they won't FaceTime you or Facebook time or whatever, and all they do is send images, like photos of themselves, and they seem weird. Like AI makes it super easy to do that now. Yeah. So attentive daily messages. So again, that's how they get you. They make you feel like you're actually talking to them. Repeated reasons they cannot meet, and that meet can either mean like FaceTime or calls or things like that. Weeks or months of trust. So again, these are usually the long game type of situations. They always come up with excuses of why they can't talk or see you. And then after, and it can be only days, but usually it's after a couple weeks or months. And then they never are willing to do that. But then they start introducing financial concerns in there. Oh, hey, I'm having trouble, or I want to invest in this big idea. Because at that point, they've already got you pretty good on the hook. And then they know that. And then that's when they start sliding in all the wanting to get your information, or hey, can you send me this amount, or things like that. So yeah, do not send money at online only persons. Don't send money over to someone you've never met over the internet ever, or give them the credential or the password to something, or the information off a card or anything. Any questions on that? Okay.
Send me your bank account number first, and then I'll check into it.
Yeah, right. Okay. This is another interesting one, and I've seen this happen to a lot of people too. So this is essentially, it's hard to describe because it can be done in many different ways, but essentially they're trying to promise you potential investments or fake profits. So they're not asking for information right away. They're technically giving you something in a false way, right? So that's why it kind of flips the script and it can be tricky. So sometimes this is in social media posts or ads, or even sometimes the romantic relationship. And then they want to conduct business via WhatsApp or Telegram or sometimes Facebook Messenger. And sometimes they're experts or a group of experts, and then they'll show you like money that they've made and what they've gotten out of their investments and things like that. So it seems really legit. They're talking to you, they've built a relationship with you. Usually the persona is fake, right? And then sometimes they're like, okay, hey, all we need up front is like $100. And look what I've turned my 100. I've turned my 100 into 10K in 3 months. So, it's because you're not talking about millions, so it's not too crazy, and $100 isn't too much. And so you start off slow like that. And then you give them 100 and they're like, hey, I turned into 3 grand. We were hoping for 10, but 3 is pretty good. If you send me another 100 or send me 500, maybe we can get more out of it. Right? And they come up with all sorts of different ways that you should give them money. And then it can very much look like things like this, like, real face, real name. They show you pictures of amounts that they've taken. Even before AI, faking this stuff was super easy.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then the fact that it's in Bitcoin is another thing, because Scammers love cryptocurrency because it's not tracked in the same way that standard currency is. And essentially all they're doing is they're promising you a whole bunch and they're giving you proof. That's the trick, is they are giving you proof, but this stuff is very easy to fake. Has anyone had any experience with this? Like any relatives or anyone like that? I've seen this firsthand, so I know it's out there. And you get people who are always like looking for the next quick buck, and then that's really who they get. Or they're in a bad situation and then someone promises them a solution. Yeah. So this kind of goes hand in hand with the other one where, hey, we've seen fraudulent activity on your account. We want to make sure we get that taken care of. This is more like if a scammer scammed you, which, if you think about it, it's like, what more can they take? But let's say a scammer scammed you and they took a certain amount of money from you, and then they come back. It's like, hey, we found that money. Give us your bank account so we can put it back. And again, you would think that you wouldn't fall for it the second time, but again, there's always that hope in us, always that that solution. Yeah, claim special access. So they're gonna say like, why couldn't we do this before? Well, I can do it this way because I just know the way it works or how it is, things like that. And then sometimes they'll ask you for other small fees, and that's how you know. So they're not asking for a lot of money up front, because thing about actually fishing, if you go in really strong, you're gonna scare all the fish away. But if you just ask for tiny amounts up front and nothing bad happens, you're like, okay, maybe the waters are safe, right? So they kind of dial you in like that. Yeah, and that's pretty much what I said. So with most of these, the exit or when you should leave it is immediately as soon as you see that it's, I know it's easy to say that, as soon as you see that it's fake, but a lot of these, there's not a lot of investment up front, like the other scams where you call immediately or you text immediately. A lot of these are long term or longer goal, long game sort of situations. So you see the wrong number in the text, you don't respond. You're like, hi, this is so and so. You can literally don't say anything, or you can say wrong number and then leave it at that. Daily friendly conversation, that's more for the romantic scams. As soon as I was talking to someone and they were on a legitimate place thinking they were talking to a legitimate person. There's nothing wrong with that. But then as soon as it starts switching to financials and they've never been willing to talk or meet with you, that's when you're like, okay, I'm out. And then moving to another app. As soon as they want to take you from where you're at to somewhere new, so that that's their way of isolating again and hiding everything that they've done. That's your big red flag there. Any questions on that? No? You guys understand it all? You got it? Okay.
It just takes anyway, no matter what, if they send you a check, it's gonna take 2 weeks for your bank to clear that check.
I have
In
a
the
good.
meantime, your account number's out there for them, and they take your money out of your account. Because it's easier for them to pull it out than for you to have it deposited into your account, because the banks wait 2 weeks or more.
There's actually another way they can do that too, because you're absolutely right. But I'll address that. Yes. I'm sorry. So and I'll be more than happy to admit it. I was pretty close to being scammed once myself. So I don't think you guys would know, but there's a couple of different websites there's one called Upwork and there's one called Fiverr. So it's essentially a freelance work. So it's when I was working for my own independently. And Upwork it's essentially you build a professional profile and people hire you. I have used it in legitimate ways with the company I work with now and so on. And so it is a legitimate website, and that's the problem, right? And that's where it starts. So someone contacted me and wanted my help with something. I said, okay. They lived in another state. They wanted, and most of it was digital. I said, okay. I've also learned a lot since then. This was several years ago. But anyway, they gave me just enough information to seem legitimate. And in the end, it wasn't in the direction that you're talking about, but they gave me a check to cash. And I was already kind of like, but I did cash the check. And then so in law, they have to, so banks don't actually process checks for a couple weeks, but there's a law that's saying they have to make certain amount of funds immediately available to you so that you don't have to wait that time for it to be checked. And then immediately they were like, okay, well, actually, sorry, I gave you the wrong amount. I need this much back. I was like, nope. And then I called the bank and I was like, this is fake. Because what they're doing is the bank essentially gives you the 500 or whatever it is
That portion is.
up front. But that money physically has not moved institutions. It just shows up in your account because they're giving you good faith that that amount will show in. So what you do is you actually do transfer 100 or 200 back to them, and then when that check bounces, you're going to be negative that 200 or whatever. So it's a really weird bank thing, but that can definitely happen too. But the important part is, as soon as you're never gonna. Does everyone? Let me ask it like this.
Digital bank transfers really happen immediately. They don't.
Yes,
hold those
correct.
2 or 3 weeks.
Correct.
It's the check.
It's
part
the
of
check
it.
part, yeah. But does everyone understand in my situation what the red flag was? Or do I need to make that clearer? It was the fact that they gave me money and then immediately wanted some back on a check, because checks are slow, right? So, yes. Yeah, sure.
Larry doesn't like to answer any phone call that says unknown.
Okay.
If it says spam, we definitely don't answer on our house phone.
Yeah.
But we get calls sometimes from Humana, our insurance, wanting us to ask us questions about stuff. And it is Humana.
Okay.
But it says unknown. So we figure if they really want us, they're gonna leave a message on our answer machine.
Okay.
They don't.
Which most of the time they don't. And so every once in a while I'll answer it and I'll just ask them, why don't you use the Humana phone number? Is it because they're not in the Humana office, or they're just using their own personal number to call?
And what response do you get?
They're using their own phone.
Yeah, so work from home has made a lot of problems in this. So, okay, so let me go down the list, because this is the problem. We're always going to find situations where the rules don't work, and that's why I'm going to try and give you guys some guidelines. So, number one, I 100% agree. Don't answer spam calls or unknowns. 2, if you have to, a legitimate business should, in my opinion, always leave a voicemail if they have legitimate business to conduct with you. 3, if they're one of those who don't believe that that's important, that's a whole nother problem on their own. But try and add their known phone number to your contacts. 4, if they don't have a known phone number and it's like this, then you feel like you have to answer, then you just have to rely on your instinct and your knowledge for classes like this. But you should not, and that sucks. But if they're a legitimate business and they don't do the phones well, then there's not much we can do other than trust our intuition and our knowledge. Or say, hey, if you do have the next best thing you can do is hang up with them, say, hey, it came over as an unknown phone number, I don't trust this, so I'm going to call the Humana number that I have. And that's what you can do. Yep. Because that is going to happen from time to time. It sucks. Okay. I'm going to speed round this because there's several slides, but it's pretty easy. So again, the goal of all of this is to either get information or money directly. So their information is either passwords and usernames to get into your accounts, account information like checking accounts, routing numbers, etc., so on and so forth, your social security number, anything like that. Does anyone not understand that? Is that clear? So anytime you're in a weird situation already and then they start asking you for really important information, that should put off the big siren in your head saying, hey, this is weird, let's get out of it. And then again, these are the main ways that they do that. They can either ask you for codes. So like if they're trying to log into your bank account or they're not sure. So like let's say I'm calling you and I'm trying to log into your bank account and I want to reset your password. Well, some websites, to reset your password, you have to put in a code. So they'll call you, hey, I'm with the bank to authorize yourself. I just sent you a 6-digit code. and then you give them 6-digit code, and that lets them reset your password and access your account. So be very wary of when they ask you for 6-digit codes over the phone. They almost never will. Other companies have systems around giving you those. Yeah.
Why would anybody want to access your bank account? I mean, I don't
They
know.
want your money.
Money.
I know, but why would somebody call me and say, I'm trying to get into your bank account? Wouldn't I just hang up on them? I mean,
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Good idea.
You absolutely should hang up on them.
It just,
I know it happens. I promise you, though, it happens because it's not as I make it sound really nice and calm and clean. But if someone's calling you, it's like, hey, there was a weird fraudulent charge of $10,000 in your account. We have to verify your credentials and do all this and blah blah blah, and they've panicked you. Then it's not going to be so easy. It sounds really easy in class, but I promise you, if you're in a bad situation, it's not that clear. I'm just trying to make it simple for the fact of the class, but yes. You are right. In theory, if someone's asking for your bank account credentials, you'd be like, no, right? Payment methods. Man, okay, thank you. We're pretty much done. It's just a couple things, but like, if you can, name one thing for me where a gift card is a legitimate form of payment other than where the gift card is for.
Amazon.
that's what the gift card is for.
Right. So if you have an Amazon gift card, you can use it on Amazon. But if I'm a bank or someone and I want payment in gift cards, it's never legitimate. Never legitimate. They use that so much because the money is essentially untraceable at that point. The transaction was at the institution. Yeah. Yeah. And to be clear, they don't, when I say gift cards, it's not usually gift cards for like Amazon and stuff like that. It's usually Visa cards, something that's universal, right?
So should we not buy them for our grandkids?
No, you can do that. What I'm saying is a lot of the time, excuse me.
The scam wants to have you pay in.
Right. Thank you. I should have been more clear. Yes. A lot of the times, instead of providing you with your credit card, which can have fraud protection on it, they go and have you buy a generic Visa card that does not have those protections necessarily built in, so that they get past that. So that should be a huge red flag. Bitcoin, crypto is a legitimate thing. That's a whole nother subject. But if it already seems kind of weird and they want you to pay in Bitcoin, because I know most of you are like, I don't even know how to do that. The scammers will help you do that. Don't help them do that, right? That's the problem, is like a lot of you, I'm assuming a lot of you are like, well, that's no problem. I don't know how to do that anyway. The scam, they will do anything they can to assist you. They are the most helpful people in the world. They will be more than happy. We talked about that, yeah. So again, you have to see where they're coming from, either a text call or some sort of relationship. Now, relationship is a broad term, but it's just a way for them to relate themselves to you and make it feel trusting. Then they ask for personal details or maybe verifications, and then they try to move and isolate. So in other words, they try to move the money either to a gift card or to another bank account, or have you put in bank account credentials or things like that. And then what you should do first is you should pause, try to set the emotions aside, which I know is really hard. Leave the situation, even if it's just putting the phone down on the table and taking a breath, and then you verify. You call the institution directly. You usually calling is the best, or you verify the information that they've been giving you. Is any of that unclear? Okay. Did anyone learn anything? Great. Was this good class? Did you feel like it was valid? Okay. A lot of you are quiet, and I can't tell if it's, my God, guys, stop going on, or we're just trying to process it. So, any questions for me? Please, open discussion, open floor. If you have any questions, yes.
You get a good virus check for tablets.
If it's an Android tablet, there's one called, what's it called? I'll Google it here in a second. I forgot what it's called, but yes, there's one good on tablet or Android tablets.
Nothing for the iPad?
you don't really need it if you
I
have
know,
good.
just like there's
I
good
know.
security on the Apple products. I get it.
Really, even nowadays, Androids are pretty secure too.
Now you've got a couple, you've got so many viruses on your tablet. Click on here.
Yeah, but you have to be careful because it's
I
fake,
know.
right? Yeah.
The last time I did that, everything went. They didn't get anything, I just lost. I have a company I work with called Computer Pros. It's over there by Hy-Vee on Berry Road.
Computer Pros is fantastic. I
They are very good about, even just to call and ask, I got this message on my computer.
He does it
Is
too.
this
He's
valid?
really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So always leave me a voicemail if I don't answer, because I also don't answer phone numbers I don't know or don't have saved yet.
You have our phone numbers in here.
I don't remember. I'll look. But number one, you can always. I don't want to push myself too hard because I don't want to make it seem like I'm the only one who can answer questions. But I am more than happy to always help you out in a bad situation. I have people that text me all the time. They take a picture of their computer and they're like, "Real or fake?" I'm like, "Fake." Good. Go on. So I can do that for you. Computer Pros is so I don't do a lot of hardware anymore. I do like more like setup and teaching and things like that. I don't like to touch hardware anymore because I'm too far out of it. I'm not, and I was never that good at it, to be honest. Computer Pros, they are really good. When I'm super busy and I don't have time for someone and it's more of an emergency, I do refer them to Computer Pros because they are a good company. And yeah, yeah.
We've taken our phone in and say, is my virus current?
Lookout. It's called Lookout. Lookout. Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah. Lookout for Androids. Look into it. It's been a few years since I've used it. An antivirus, there is no antivirus that will cure bad technical hygiene. So you always need to use good, and what I mean by hygiene is good practices and being aware of what you're doing and things like that. But yeah, anyone is always welcome to ask me if they have a question or concern on a situation that is bad. So you're very welcome.